Have you ever wondered if the story of Adam and Eve might hold a deeper meaning than what we've been told? The well-known account of Eve being created from Adam's rib has shaped our understanding of gender roles and relationships for centuries. But what if this translation has led us to miss the real message hidden within the original Hebrew text? Imagine how our perspective on equality, relationships, and even spirituality could shift if we understood this story differently. What if this ancient narrative is not about hierarchy but about unity and partnership? Something far more profound than we've ever imagined. Stay with us, and you'll discover an interpretation that might change the way you see this foundational story forever, one that reveals God's true intention for human connection and the equality He envisioned for all of us. My biggest dream is to reach 1,000 subscribers, so I kindly ask you to subscribe to the channel, and together we can spread the word of God even further to those who need it. The story of Adam and Eve is one of the most well-known biblical narratives, widely taught and interpreted across cultures and centuries. It has influenced countless aspects of human history, shaping our understanding of relationships, roles, and the very nature of humanity. Central to this story is the account of Eve being created from Adam's rib, a detail that has been both celebrated and debated. But what if this translation has misled us, obscuring a deeper truth within the narrative? Recent linguistic and theological studies suggest that this rib narrative may be based on a mistranslation, and a closer look at the original Hebrew text reveals a more profound and symbolic meaning, one that speaks to the unity, equality, and partnership intended by God for humanity. The Hebrew word in Genesis 2 verses 21 to 22, traditionally translated as rib, is zelah. This word appears over 40 times in the Old Testament, and its meaning extends beyond what we often assume. However, its most common usage refers not to a rib but to a side, as in the side of a structure or object, or even the side of a person. This subtle yet crucial difference opens up a more nuanced understanding of the creation story. For instance, zelah is used to describe the sides of the tabernacle in Exodus 26 verse 20, emphasizing structural importance and support. It implies something significant, foundational, and supportive, which adds a layer of meaning when applied to the creation of Eve. When the Hebrew scriptures were translated into Greek in the Septuagint around the 3rd century BCE, zelah was rendered as pleura. While pleura can mean side, it is also associated with ribs, creating an interpretative ambiguity that left room for misinterpretation. This ambiguity was further solidified when these texts were translated into Latin. Later, in the Latin Vulgate translation, Jerome opted for costae, a word explicitly meaning rib. This choice was made at a time when theological perspectives heavily influenced translation decisions, and Jerome's rendering became deeply entrenched in Christian theology, influencing subsequent translations such as the King James Bible and many others that followed. These layers of translation choices gradually narrowed the interpretation to something more literal, reducing the symbolic depth that the original Hebrew text intended to convey. This mistranslation had significant cultural and theological consequences. It contributed to a long-standing perception of women as secondary to men, an idea that has permeated religious teaching, societal norms, and even legal structures throughout history. By interpreting zelah as rib, the narrative was reduced to a simplistic, physical extraction, rather than recognizing the more profound implication of an entire side being taken to form Eve. This mistranslation has affected how countless generations have viewed the roles of men and women, often justifying the exclusion of women from positions of authority or leadership. This perspective not only diminishes the role of Eve, but also undermines the fundamental concept of equality that was present in the original Hebrew context. Recognizing the original meaning of zelah as side opens up a deeper understanding of the creation narrative, suggesting that Eve was not an afterthought or a lesser being but an equal partner in every way. The symbolic meaning of side conveys a sense of unity and shared purpose, emphasizing that both man and woman were intended to stand together, shoulder to shoulder, as equals. This has far-reaching implications for how we view gender roles today, inviting us to challenge long-held biases and embrace a vision of partnership that honors the true intent of the creation story. It also reveals that the division of Adam into two beings was not a reduction but a completion, enabling each to fully reflect the image of God through their unity. This reinterpretation challenges the deeply ingrained patriarchal structures that have often limited women's roles both in religious contexts and in society as a whole. By shifting our understanding from rib to side, we are reminded that the original divine design was one of balance, equality, and mutual dependence. The mistranslation has led to a history where women were often viewed as subordinate, but rediscovering the original intent allows us to see the creation of Eve as an elevation of humanity to a state of partnership. This new understanding encourages us to reconstruct the narrative, advocating for equality and shared responsibilities in all areas of life, from spiritual leadership to family dynamics. It is a call to return to the foundational values of equality and unity, values that were inherent in God's original plan for mankind. Understanding Zillah as side rather than rib shifts the narrative significantly. Instead of God taking a single rib from Adam to create Eve, the text suggests that he took an entire side of Adam, encompassing bone, flesh, and spirit. This interpretation emphasizes the unity and equality of man and woman, portraying Eve as an integral, complementary partner rather than a secondary creation. It suggests that humanity was initially created as a unified being, embodying both masculine and feminine aspects, and that Eve's creation from Adam's side was a division that allowed for companionship, mutual support, and shared purpose. This understanding provides a powerful message about the essential and interconnected nature of men and women. The choice of side carries rich symbolism. In biblical architecture, such as the tabernacle or Solomon's temple, the sides are vital structural elements, providing support, stability, and balance. These structures could not stand without their sides, emphasizing that every part is essential to the whole. The use of side to describe Eve's creation implies that she is not an afterthought or a lesser part of Adam, but rather a crucial and supportive element, just as the sides of a structure are indispensable to its integrity. Applying this metaphor to the creation story underscores the foundational and equal role of Eve in God's design for humanity, suggesting that men and women are designed to work together in harmony, each providing strength and balance to the other. This interpretation allows us to see that Eve's presence was intended to bring completeness, to be an equal part of the structure of humanity, giving it resilience and cohesion. Furthermore, the idea of Eve being taken from Adam's side, not from his head or feet, reinforces the concept of equality. She was not taken from his head to rule over him, nor from his feet to be trampled upon, but from his side, close to his heart, symbolizing love, partnership, and mutual respect. This powerful imagery speaks to the original intent of the creation narrative, which was to establish a relationship of equals, bound together by divine purpose. It invites us to reconsider how we view gender roles and the nature of human relationships, urging a return to the original vision of unity and shared destiny. This symbolism further highlights that Eve's position was meant to be one of dignity and honor, complementing Adam as an essential partner. It also emphasizes that Eve's creation was not about subordination but about connection. Being side by side suggests a harmonious relationship where each fulfills and supports the other. In this context, equality means standing together through challenges, supporting one another, and recognizing that both have equal value in the eyes of God. In a world that often struggles with the balance of power between genders, this reminder of the initial divine design for harmony, respect, and cooperation serves as a profound lesson for our time. It encourages us to challenge long-held beliefs that have led to inequality and to strive for relationships that reflect the unity intended in the beginning. Eve being taken from Adam's side symbolizes the idea that true partnership involves working together, sharing responsibilities, and valuing each other's contributions. It reinforces that neither man nor woman is complete without the other, and that their combined strengths create something far greater than either could achieve alone. This image of Eve being created from Adam's side also speaks to the heart of what relationships are meant to be, based on love, mutual respect, and shared purpose. It is a call for us to rise above cultural stereotypes that diminish the role of women or elevate one gender over the other. Instead, it is a call to celebrate the divine intention for unity and collaboration. This vision of equality does not imply sameness, but rather a beautiful diversity that works in perfect harmony. When we embrace this understanding, we can move toward relationships that honor both partners equally, creating an environment where both can thrive spiritually, emotionally, and practically. In modern society, where issues of gender inequality persist, this ancient wisdom offers a blueprint for how we can create more balanced, just, and loving relationships. The symbolism of the side also extends to the broader theological concept of humanity reflecting the image of God. Just as God embodies multiple attributes, strength, compassion, justice, and mercy, humanity was created to reflect these divine qualities through both male and female. By understanding Eve as being taken from Adam's side, we see a deliberate act of division to create two beings who, together, more fully represent the image of God. This view emphasizes the completeness that comes from unity and the importance of both genders in embodying the fullness of God's character. The unity of Adam and Eve is not just a physical or emotional bond, but a spiritual and divine connection, where both contribute uniquely to the reflection of God's attributes. This division to create unity shows that humanity is at its best when both halves, male and female, work together, each bringing their strengths, nurturing the world in justice, mercy, and love. It reminds us that true reflection of God's image comes not from isolated individuals, but from the unified, cooperative relationships that mirror the nature of the Creator. This reinterpretation challenges long-standing theological views that have often placed women in subordinate roles. The idea of Eve being created from a small, seemingly insignificant rib has sometimes been used to justify patriarchal attitudes and reinforce the belief that women are inferior to men. This interpretation has influenced centuries of theology, social norms, and gender dynamics, often perpetuating the idea that women are an afterthought or a secondary creation. This belief has shaped countless cultural attitudes and has been used to limit women's roles both in religious and secular contexts, affecting everything from leadership opportunities to societal expectations. However, understanding Zela as side provides an entirely different perspective, one that reveals the inherent equality and shared dignity intended by God for both men and women. In this context, Eve is not a lesser derivative of Adam, but an equal counterpart, formed to stand beside him in a relationship characterized by balance, mutual respect, and partnership. The use of side rather than rib symbolizes a unity that transcends physicality, pointing towards a deeper spiritual equality. It suggests that both man and woman were made to support and complete each other, neither being superior nor inferior. In contrast, the side interpretation aligns seamlessly with biblical teachings on equality, such as Genesis 1 verse 27, which states that both men and women are created in God's image, equally reflecting His divine nature and purpose. This understanding emphasizes that God's image is fully represented only when both male and female are viewed as equal parts of creation, each bringing unique qualities and strengths. It invites us to see beyond the simplistic interpretations that have caused division and instead embrace a holistic view of humanity, where both genders are seen as vital to the reflection of God's glory. This new perspective also invites a re-evaluation of how we interpret other biblical narratives involving women. Stories that have traditionally been used to justify women's subordination can be re-examined in light of this deeper understanding of equality. It encourages us to challenge and question the cultural biases that have influenced scriptural interpretations over the centuries, allowing for a more inclusive and balanced theology that honors the contributions of both men and women. This shift is not just about correcting a mistranslation, it is about restoring the original vision of humanity that God intended, one that is rooted in unity, respect, and shared purpose. This reinterpretation not only emphasizes equality but also reshapes how we view the dynamics of human relationships, particularly the relationship between men and women. It reinforces the concept that women are not inferior or subservient but are vital partners, designed to stand alongside men in mutual support and respect. This perspective encourages us to rethink cultural narratives that have minimized women's roles, and instead, to see them as equally valuable participants in God's plan. Moreover, this perspective deepens the understanding of marriage as a partnership. Genesis 2 verse 24 describes the union of man and woman as becoming one flesh. This phrase gains new significance when viewed through the lens of mutuality and equality, reflecting God's intention for harmonious relationships. The imagery of becoming one flesh symbolizes a profound unity, one that is based on equality, interdependence, and shared purpose. It implies that neither partner is complete without the other, and together they form a whole that mirrors the unity found within the divine nature itself. This understanding elevates the institution of marriage from a hierarchical relationship to a sacred partnership in which both individuals are equally responsible for nurturing love, respect, and spiritual growth. It invites us to see marriage not as a union where one dominates the other, but as a relationship of equals who complement and uplift each other in every aspect of life. This reinterpretation also has broader implications for how we understand leadership and authority within the church and society. If Eve was created as an equal partner from Adam's side, then the roles of men and women in spiritual and communal leadership should reflect that equality. The narrative no longer supports a rigid hierarchy, but instead calls for collaborative leadership, where both men and women bring their unique gifts to the table. This view encourages a more inclusive approach to leadership, one that values the contributions of all individuals regardless of gender and honors the original intent of God's creation. It suggests that leadership is not about dominance or control, but about service, collaboration, and the nurturing of the community. When we revisit the creation story with this understanding, it becomes clear that God's original plan was for men and women to share responsibilities, to lead together, and to use their strengths in complementary ways for the benefit of all. In practical terms, This means rethinking how we structure leadership roles in churches and other religious institutions. Women, who have often been marginalized or excluded from leadership positions, should be recognized as equal contributors, capable of offering valuable insights, wisdom, and guidance. This inclusive approach aligns with the teachings of Christ, who uplifted women and included them in his ministry. It also encourages us to challenge traditional power dynamics that have often restricted women to secondary roles, thereby creating a more balanced and equitable community. The reinterpretation of Eve's creation invites us to dismantle barriers and to create opportunities for all people to serve according to their God-given talents, without being limited by outdated gender norms. Moreover, this approach to leadership fosters an environment of respect, mutual growth, and shared purpose. When men and women lead together, they model the unity and partnership that God intended from the beginning. This collaborative leadership can bring about positive changes in how communities function, ensuring that diverse perspectives are heard and valued. It emphasizes that true leadership is not about holding power over others, but about empowering each other to grow, flourish, and fulfill God's purpose. By embracing this reinterpretation, we take a step towards building communities that truly reflect the divine image, where everyone, regardless of gender, can contribute to the flourishing of the body of Christ. Modern scholars and linguists are revisiting early translations to uncover the original intent of the scriptures. By understanding Zela as side, we gain a fresh appreciation for the depth of the creation narrative. This rediscovery invites believers to view the story of Adam and Eve not as a tale of hierarchy, but as a profound testament to unity, partnership, and shared purpose. It challenges us to rethink the traditional narratives that have often placed one gender above the other and instead see God's original creation as an intentional act of forming two equal, complementary beings. This perspective urges us to acknowledge the importance of partnership, where each individual, regardless of gender, contributes equally to the fulfillment of God's vision for humanity. The story of Adam's rib, or side, is a reminder that language shapes theology and culture. Revisiting the original text reveals a vision of equality that challenges traditional interpretations and offers a richer, more inclusive understanding of God's design for humanity. It shows that both Adam and Eve were intended to stand side by side, embodying a relationship that reflects God's love and unity. By understanding the broader context and symbolic meaning of Zela, we see a divine plan centered on partnership, rather than a hierarchy. This understanding has profound implications not only for gender relations, but also for how we build our communities, churches, and relationships today. Furthermore, this rediscovery emphasizes that the original Hebrew text speaks to the heart of God's desire for unity and harmony among all people. It invites us to view the story of creation through a lens of mutual respect and shared responsibility. Recognizing Eve as being created from Adam's side underscores the essential role of cooperation and mutual support, values that are foundational to any healthy relationship. This richer interpretation encourages believers to adopt an inclusive worldview, where men and women together reflect the image of God, working hand in hand to fulfill their divine purpose. By revisiting these early translations, we can dismantle outdated concepts that have fostered division and replace them with a message of unity and shared purpose, which is at the core of God's intent for humanity. This renewed understanding also serves as a call to action for believers today. It challenges us to actively work towards creating communities and relationships that reflect the equality and partnership intended by God. It means advocating for the inclusion of women in all areas of ministry, supporting equal opportunities for leadership, and fostering environments where everyone's gifts are recognized and valued. By embracing this vision of unity, we can more fully embody the love and justice that God desires for His people. If this resonates with you, please click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos. Let's grow together in faith, embracing the true meaning of partnership and equality as envisioned in God's original creation.